So today we will be covering aging, physiology of aging, right? Physiology of aging, how people get old, and is there any way to prevent aging, right? So if you wanna stay younger forever, right? Okay, if at all there is any way. Okay. So aging, first of all you need to define aging. What is aging, right? So to define aging, so progressive deteriorative changes occurring in adult life that underlie an increasing vulnerability to challenges. This one is important, increasing vulnerability to challenges and thereby decrease the ability of the organism to survive. Okay. So this one is the definition of aging. You might remember, progressive deteriorative changes occurring in adult life that underlie an increasing vulnerability to challenges. Okay. So highlight these things, increasing vulnerability to challenges and thereby decrease the ability of the organism to survive. So what are the major changes? What are the major changes that happens in the way of aging? So decrease in the height and lean body mass. So first and most important point is decrease lean body mass, right? Decrease lean body mass, increased fat content and redistribution of fat. Increased fat content and redistribution of fat. Okay, it's really difficult to get your attention after post-phase time, right? I guess. Okay, so that's why I have chosen this topic. This is a very small topic. I'll finish earlier, right? I'll finish earlier, but definitely you will get interest in it because you might want to decrease your aging as well, I guess. Okay, so increase fat content and redistribution of fat. Third is thinning of skin, right? Weakening of musculoskeletal system. বয়স বাড়ার সঙ্গে সঙ্গে কি কি চেঞ্জেস হচ্ছে, right? Difficulty in the sensory transduction and speed of central processing. Okay, speed of action potential doesn't get reduced, but the thing which is reduced is this central processing time at the level of synapse. Okay, at the level of synapse things gets delayed, but the speed of action potential remains the same, right? So deficit in sensory transduction and speed of central processing, reduction in arterial compliance, okay, stiffness of the arteries, your arteries are less able to hold more amount of blood, right? Increased ventilation perfusion mismatch. Okay, you know what is ventilation and what is perfusion? And what is ventilation perfusion mismatch? Respiratory system is going right? Respiratory system hoye geche na cholche? Okay, fine. Okay. Okay, so what is ventilation? What is perfusion? I guess you should know. Ventilation is simply just air is entering into your lungs and exiting from your lungs. Simply this is ventilation. Okay. So the convective movement of air to and from the lung, to the lung, from the lung. Okay, air entry, air exit. Simply this is ventilation. And what is perfusion? Perfusion is just like ventilation is movement of air and perfusion is movement of blood. Okay, your blood is going to an organ and leaving from that organ is perfusion. Okay, blood is going to liver and coming back from liver. This is perfusion. Okay, so convective movement of air to and from the lung is called ventilation, and convective movement of blood to the organ and from the organ is called perfusion, right? Okay, so increased ventilation perfusion mismatch. Ventilation perfusion mismatch is a very important topic for you in respiratory system. You will face short notes from ventilation perfusion mismatch. Okay, and it is very important to know ventilation perfusion mismatch because many other diseases you will face that are due to ventilation perfusion mismatch. Okay, now decreased glomerular filtration rate. Decreased glomerular filtration rate. That, although that is inconsistent, it is not an absolute sign of aging. So glomerular filtration rate. All of you know what is glomerular filtration rate? Although kidney is not over, I guess. Renal system has not started yet, but you should know what is glomerular filtration rate. You know the structure of nephron and how it is filtered. Your blood is filtered, right? Okay, the glomerular filtration rate is around 125 ml per minute per 1.73 meter square of body surface area. Okay, around, this is normal value, but more than 90 glomerular filtration rate, we consider it normal, okay. And once it is below 90, we consider it under chronic kidney disease, okay, below 90. And when it is less than 15, 15 niche jodi hoy, we call it end stage renal disease that requires dialysis, right. So this is one point where with the process of aging, एज बढ़ने के साथ साथ आपका ग्लोमेरुलर फिल्ट्रेशन रेट कम होता है, बट दिस इज इनकॉन्सिस्टेंट, इट इज नॉट सीन इन ऑल एंड एवरी इंडिविजुअल, राइट. Okay, but the major points are these. First 3 or 4 points are very much important, like decreased lean body mass, redistribution of fat, thinning of skin, weakening of musculoskeletal system, and this speed of central processing, delayed central processing. ठीक है, काम नहीं कर रहा है ज़्यादा दिमाग, ठीक है. So speed of central processing. These are the points that are decreased with the process of aging. Okay. Now, one very important MCQ that frequently comes in NEET PG examination. For your time, it will be next PG examination, next examination. So, the thing is, one system that is not affected in the process of aging, but it may be affected in the process of any pathological process, right? So, this is gastrointestinal system. It is usually not affected with the process of aging. Okay? So, your gastrointestinal system, GI system, your stomach, intestine, large intestine, whatever. So, these systems are usually not affected with the process of aging. Okay? So, you may face MCQ like that. What are the which is the system that is not affected in the process of aging? Options are central nervous system, cardiovascular system, respiratory system, gastrointestinal system, and the answer is definitely gastrointestinal system. Okay, now you will tell that with the process of aging, digestion power may be decreased or something like that. We have seen naturally in older individuals, they say that digestion problem or many problems like that. Okay, so those problems are not due to aging, those are due to different pathogenic processes. Someone having peptic ulcer disease, someone having colitis or bacterial overgrowth. So there are many disease entities involving gastrointestinal system, right? But properly due to aging, there is no decrease in the functionality of gastrointestinal system. Okay, in the central nervous system, the central processing is decreased. Okay, speed of action potential is okay, but the central processing is decreased. Okay, central processing is decreased. So there is a definite decremental thing in central nervous system in the process of aging. Okay, respiratory system, again ventilation perfusion mismatch. Okay, ventilation perfusion mismatch. So respiratory system affected. Okay, if you think about kidney, yes, your glomerular filtration rate is decreased in the process of aging, although it is inconsistent, but still it is decreased, right? So every system is being affected. Your cardiovascular system is also affected, right? Because arterial compliance is decreased. Okay, arterial compliance is decreased. So all the systems are affected with the process of aging as you grow old. Okay, every systems are affected except one system, that is gastrointestinal system. It is not affected due to aging, but if there is any disease pathology, then there may be some problem in the gastrointestinal system, but not due to aging. Okay. So your MCQ is which system is not affected in the process of aging? Options are central nervous system, cardiovascular system, respiratory system, and gastrointestinal system. So your answer is gastrointestinal system. Okay. Okay. And modest decrease in endocrine function. Endocrine function is definitely decreased. Modest decrease in endocrine function. Okay. In female, estrogen deficiency, we treat the patients with estrogen, right? In female also, in males also, testosterone deficiency is there. Testosterone deficiency, we cannot call it deficiency. Still there is very high level of testosterone normally. Okay, but in females definitely there is a significant decrease in the estrogen level, and that's why we need hormone replacement therapy after menopause. Okay, okay. So there is changes in endocrine system as well. Okay, okay. So all the systems are affected. Okay, all the systems are affected. Central nervous system, the respiratory system, the cardiovascular system, endocrine system, renal system. Okay, everything is affected except one, that is gastrointestinal system, and you should remember it. Okay, molecular basis of aging. Okay, why this is important to know the molecular basis of aging? Because it is only once you know the molecular basis of aging, then only you can develop some way to stay younger. Okay. You will target the molecules, right? You'll target the molecules with some drugs so that you can stay younger. So that's why we need to know the molecular basis of aging. Okay. Okay. So now let us come to the molecular basis of aging. At the microcellular level, what is happening that people are getting older, right? Okay. So the most important point is reactive oxygen species. Okay, reactive oxygen species. What do you mean by reactive oxygen species? So to know the reactive oxygen species, see this. Okay, so see this. Sorry for this is handwritten. Okay, so oxygen, right? Oxygen, and you know within the neutrophil, we have one major enzyme which is called NADPH oxidase. Okay, within the neutrophil we have granules. Okay, and within that granules we have a very important enzyme called NADPH oxidase. Very important enzyme, and it is essential to have this NADPH oxidase enzyme. Why NADPH oxidase enzyme is important for us? What is the function of neutrophil? Yes, it is the first line of defense. It is the first line of defense. Okay, you have got an innate immunity. Okay, irrespective of your virus or bacteria exposure, irrespective of your vaccination status, any foreign body, whether it is bacteria or virus or any foreign body, when it attacks you, you have the first line of defense, that is your neutrophil. Okay, so how does neutrophil do that job? Neutrophil has got granules. Okay, and within these granules, neutrophils have one major important enzyme that is called NADPH oxidase. So NADPH oxidase इसका function क्या है? It can convert oxygen to reactive oxygen species. Okay, so here is oxygen, and with the help of NADPH oxidase, this one is formed. It is called superoxide. It has got an unpaired electron, right? So this is superoxide. So this superoxide is also unstable. This superoxide is converted into H2O2, hydrogen peroxide. It is also reactive oxygen species. Then hydroxyl radical, again it has got free electron. It is a reactive oxygen species. And finally it is stabilized by forming H2O. So all these intermediate, this whole reaction is catalyzed by NADPH oxidase, right? From oxygen to superoxide to hydrogen peroxide to hydroxyl radical to H2O. This whole reaction is catalyzed by NADPH oxidase, right? So oxygen is okay, oxygen is not dangerous, H2O is okay. These are stable molecules, but inside these three things, superoxide, H2O2 and hydroxyl radical, these three things are not stable, and these three things are called ROS, reactive oxygen species. Okay, so your question is what are reactive oxygen species? Sir, there are three reactive oxygen species. Okay, one is superoxide, then H2O2, then hydroxyl radical. All these are formed from oxygen with the help of an enzyme called NADPH oxidase. Okay? And where is the location of this NADPH oxidase? Inside the neutrophil. Okay? So by producing this reactive oxygen species, oxygen, H2O2 and hydroxyl radical, by producing this reactive oxygen species or oxygen free radical, neutrophil kills bacteria or virus. Okay? So, how does neutrophil do that? Neutrophil produces oxygen superoxide, H2O2 and hydroxyl radical, and they causes pore formation. They cause pore formation on the bacterial wall, pore formation. Okay, and the bacteria dies. Okay, pore formation in the nuclear capsid of the virus. Okay, nuclear capsid of the virus or the bacterial cell wall. Okay, or the bacterial cell wall, and finally there is leakage of intracellular contents, and finally the bacteria or virus dies. Okay, so this is the way. So neutrophil kills bacteria or virus by producing reactive oxygen species like superoxide, like H2O2, like hydroxyl radical. Okay, so these things are good only. They are helping us to kill bacteria in our innate immunity. Okay, and it is performed by neutrophil. Okay. Now, let us get back to COVID days, COVID-19. Okay, it is a virus. So, it was attacking It was attacking ourselves, right? So what was happening? Our defense was neutrophil. So neutrophil क्या कर रहा था? Neutrophil was producing NADPH oxidase. Okay, neutrophil was producing NADPH oxidase, and NADPH oxidase was producing superoxide, H2O2, and hydroxyl radical, and they were killing COVID-19 virus. Okay, so that was our defense. Everybody was not being affected with COVID-19 na, because of the innate immunity, and this is innate immunity is this because of NADPH oxidase. Correct? Okay. But how COVID-19 was affecting people with a severe disease? Okay. How COVID-19 was affecting people with severe disease? People were getting admitted in the ICU, ventilation, and ultimately deaths. So many consequences. Okay, disseminated intravascular coagulation, and ultimately people were dying. Okay. So even if these neutrophils are present, they are having NADPH oxidase, then what was happening? This mechanism was not able to kill COVID-19 virus. Why? Okay. The thing is overactivity. Okay. This NADPH oxidase is an enzyme which will protect you once it is within the neutrophil, right? Once it is within the neutrophil. But when this reactive oxygen species, this reaction, oxygen to superoxide to H2O2 to then OH to H2O, this reaction is okay when it is within the neutrophil. But when this reaction is occurring outside the neutrophil, your own mechanism will kill you, right? These reactive oxygen species are okay to kill bacteria and virus, but only when within the neutrophil, within the phagocytes, right? But once this reaction is occurring outside the neutrophil, it will kill you, right? And these reactive oxygen species are really dangerous when it is occurring in an exaggerated way. এই রিয়াকশনটাই যখন বেশি বেশি হবে সেটা কিন্তু আমাদের পক্ষে ডেঞ্জারাস. ওকে, সো everything has got a limit. Okay, everything has got a limit and everything has got a balance, and you need to maintain that balance. Okay, anything is in excess is poison. Okay, once Swami Vivekananda was asked what is a poison, then Swami Vivekananda answered, anything in excess is poison. Okay, आप पढ़ाई कर रहे हो लेकिन बहुत ज्यादा पढ़ाई कर रहे हो, ठीक है? Poison. So reactive oxygen species are good. Okay, reactive oxygen species are good. They protect you from invading bacteria or virus. But when reactive oxygen species are generated in very high quantity, it will kill you, right? Yes, anything in excess is poison. Paracetamol, you take paracetamol to kill your fever, right? But if you take paracetamol in excess, there is paracetamol poisoning. Okay, paracetamol poisoning, and your liver will get damaged, right? So anything in excess is poison. Okay. Study is also, I guess. Okay. So what was happening in COVID-19? These reactive oxygen species generation was in excess. Okay. So in our body also, we have some protective mechanism so that this reactive oxygen species generation is in control. Correct? So superoxide manufacture होगा लेकिन ज़्यादा नहीं, H2O2 भी manufacture होगा लेकिन ज़्यादा नहीं, तो उसके लिए हमें एक counter mechanism है, ठीक है? उसके लिए हमारे पास एक counter mechanism है. What is that counter mechanism? Once superoxide is formed, an enzyme called superoxide dismutase, SOD, superoxide dismutase, it converts oxygen back to reactive oxygen species back to oxygen. Okay. So superoxide dismutase is another enzyme present in our body, right, which converts superoxide back to oxygen, okay, and reduces its toxicity. Similarly, when H2O2 is formed, there is an enzyme called catalase. Okay, there is an enzyme called catalase. Its cofactor is iron, Fe. Okay, so catalase is an enzyme whose cofactor is iron. It converts H2O2 back to oxygen and to H2O, so that the molecule is stable, right? And another enzyme is glutathione peroxidase. You have read glutathione in biochemistry, right? So similarly, glutathione peroxidase is another enzyme which converts H2O2 to water. Okay. Now you need some cofactor to run this mechanism, to run this counter mechanism. Okay. One mechanism, one reaction is the generation of superoxide, and another counter mechanism is converting reactive oxygen species into stable molecule, right? So you have the mechanism and the counter mechanism simultaneously, so that the generation of oxygen free radicals are in control, okay? Not in excess, okay? So generation of reactive oxygen species are in control. Of reactive oxygen species are controlled because of three things. One is superoxide dismutase, another is catalase, and another is glutathione peroxidase. Okay, and all these counter enzymes, that counter, so NADPH oxidase is a single enzyme that generates, NADPH oxidase is a single enzyme that generates reactive oxygen species. And NADPH oxidase को counter करने के लिए तीन enzyme है. One is superoxide dismutase, another is catalase, another is glutathione peroxidase. ठीक है? Glutathione peroxidase. And all these counter enzymes needs cofactor, metal cofactor. Okay. For catalase you need iron. For superoxide dismutase you need three coenzymes: zinc, copper, manganese, right? And for glutathione peroxidase you need selenium, right? For glutathione peroxidase, you need selenium. You remember during COVID time, people were getting zinc supplementation. Okay, because of this, to activate superoxide dismutase, right? People were getting selenium, yes, because to activate glutathione peroxidase. Okay, because in COVID-19, what was happening? Your NADPH oxidase activity is exaggerated. It is working abnormally high. Okay. And the reaction is not only happening within the neutrophil, it is also happening outside the neutrophil, right? It is also happening outside the neutrophil. So, these reactive oxygen species, superoxide, H2O2 and OH radical, these reactive oxygen species are freely roaming in blood, and that is destroying you. How? They are doing endothelial injury. आपका blood vessel में injury कर रहा है, right? And आपका blood vessel में injury कर रहा है, so endothelial cells are damaged. Once endothelial cells are damaged, within the endothelial cells, there are VWF, von Willebrand factor. Okay, and they were once von Willebrand factor is released from the endothelium, it will stimulate a procoagulant activity, right? So in different location inside the cardiovascular system, there will be clotting process is activated. Okay, and they will consume all the clotting factors, and this is called disseminated intravascular coagulation, and that was the major reason, disseminated intravascular coagulation, that were killing people. Okay, this is a very much severe complication of COVID-19. People were suffering due to disseminated intravascular coagulation, and to diagnose that, we need to do D-dimer assay. If you remember, D-dimer assay, we were doing D-dimer assay during hospitalized ICU-based COVID-19 patients. Okay, people were dying due to DIC, disseminated intravascular coagulation. Okay, and due to endothelial injury, all the interleukins and people were getting into septic shock. Okay. Okay, anyway, I'm not going to the details of COVID-19 and its pathophysiology. So this is the mechanism, basically. And these reactive oxygen species, when not in check, they cause aging. ठीक है, बुढ़ापा करता है, right? Okay, so to prevent this reaction or to keep this reaction in check, we need to take antioxidants. Okay, देखना बाजार में जो क्रीम वगैरह जो ब्यूटी क्रीम टाइप का मिलता है, उसमें क्या रहता है? एंटीऑक्सीडेंट्स रहता है. एलोवेरा लोग करते हैं ना स्किन में, ठीक है? तो जो भी मार्केट में जो प्रोडक्ट सेल होता है, एंटी एजिंग क्रीम, ब्यूटिफिकेशन क्रीम, जो भी फेयर एंड लवली वगैरह, तो एनीवे आई शुड नॉट टेक एनी ब्रांड नेम. Okay, I am not here to promote any brand. Okay, but still the thing is they use vitamin E, right? Vitamin E, aloe vera. So all these are antioxidants and they contain these things. Okay, mainly these things. Those are antioxidants. Okay, So that prevents generation of reactive oxygen species. So that is one way you can slow down your age. Okay, this is one way you can slow down your age. Okay, आपका बुढ़ापा आप कम कर सकते हो, slow. Okay, go slow. In medical science there is no मतलब the ultimate way. You cannot stop your aging, but you can at least slow it. Okay, so all the inflammatory things, so you are taking fast food, लेज कुरकुरे वगैरह, कोल्ड ड्रिंक्स वगैरह जो भी आप ले रहे हो, ठीक है, so these are inflammatory food. They will cause inflammation and they will increase this reaction. Okay, they will increase this reaction and superoxide, H2O2, OH radicals, these things will be generated and that will cause your aging. Okay, so these are all inflammatory. So what you need to do, you need to reduce inflammation in your body, you need to take antioxidants so that this reaction is kept in check. Okay, this reaction happens only within the neutrophil and not outside. Getting my point? So this is the major theory of aging. So exactly we still don't know because many researchers are still going on with the process of aging and how to, scientists are still trying how to prevent aging. Okay, it's really difficult, but this is the mostly accepted theory of aging. Okay, you age because of the generation of oxygen free radical. Okay, so reduce generation of free radicals, do not take inflammatory substances, fried food, deep fried food, cold beverages. Okay, avoid those things and prevent your aging. Okay, aging process. Now next. So most reactive oxygen species have an unpaired electron which is unstable. It seeks another electron from the covalent bond. Reactive oxygen species are important for the defense against invading pathogens such as phagocytosis. But the excess reactive oxygen species can cause oxidative tissue damage. Okay, anything in excess is poison. So excess reactive oxygen species can cause tissue damage. And normally body has defense mechanism for deactivating those reactive oxygen species. Your body has got defense mechanism, okay, in the form of superoxide, dismutase, catalase, and glutathione peroxidase. So the balance is important. Okay, the balance of reactive oxygen species generation and the deactivating, the counter mechanism. Okay, so reactive oxygen species ROS generation and its counter mechanism, this balance is important. Okay. Now, advanced glycosylated end product. Okay, I'll not talk much on it. Advanced glycosylated end product. If you fry sugar, have you seen? If you add sugar in oil, in hot oil, if you add sugar, what happens? It becomes red. Okay, it becomes red, and it is called advanced glycosylated end product. Okay, so here is the mechanism. I don't know much biochemistry, but this is open chain glucose. Okay, and once after glycation, it forms this Amadori product. Okay, and this is the product of advanced glycosylation. Okay, so when you fry sugar, there will be just like you take fast foods, deep fried in oil, right? Deep fried in oil, right? Sugar once deep fried in oil, they forms this advanced glycosylated end product, AGE. First Amadori product, then advanced glycosylated end product. Okay, and this advanced glycosylated end product is thought to be inflammatory. They increase the inflammatory cytokines in your body, and they cause they cause oxidative damage. Okay. Okay. Now after this advanced glycosylated end product, now come to mitochondrial damage. This is another hypothesis for aging, but remember the sequence is important. Once I discuss reactive oxygen species first, okay, I have discussed reactive oxygen species first because this is the most accepted theory and most important, okay, most important mechanism for aging. You may have questions, long question on aging, or you may have questions like reactive oxygen species, short note, okay. So mitochondrial damage, genetic DNA, it is protected by one protein called histone protein. Okay, So genetic DNA is protected by histone, but not mitochondrial DNA. Mitochondrial DNA is unprotected, and as a result, mitochondrial DNA is the most vulnerable DNA for damage by reactive oxygen species. Okay, and efficacy of DNA repair mechanism decreases with age. Okay, have you heard it? Yes, protein homeostasis. So in the process of your protein forming जो machinery है, translation, okay, protein forming जो machinery है, translation mechanism, that is not perfect. Sometimes misfolded proteins are formed. The proteins which are not, properly shaped. Okay, you know the primary structure of protein, tertiary structure, secondary structure, tertiary structure of protein, right? Alpha helix, beta pleated sheet, then tertiary structure, folding. Okay, so your protein forming machinery is not much perfect. Many times misfolded proteins are formed, misfolded proteins. The proteins which are wrongly folded. Okay, the proteins which are wrongly folded. Now, how to deal with the misfolded protein? There are numerous mechanisms. You don't need to get into the details of protein refolding mechanism or how to discard those misfolded proteins, because misfolded protein will not work properly. Okay, take any example, insulin. Okay, insulin एक protein है and इसका एक tertiary structure, और hemoglobin, simply hemoglobin. Okay, the globin chain, it has got a quaternary structure. Okay, it has got a quaternary structure in the three-dimensional space. Its folding is important. Okay, once the folding is not okay, the globin chain is abnormal and it will not work adequately, right? So we need to refold it in a proper way, or we need to discard those abnormally folded protein, right? So to do that, misfolded protein are refolded by molecular chaperone. Okay, molecular chaperone is one short note in your biochemistry. I am not going into biochemistry, but misfolded protein, they are refolded back into proper position, into proper structure by molecular chaperone, and misfolded protein can be degraded by ubiquitin proteasome pathway. It is also in biochemistry, ubiquitin proteasome pathway. So just remember how to deal with the most misfolded protein. First, it can be refolded back. Okay, it can be refolded back, and it is done by molecular chaperone, right? And misfolded protein can be degraded. Misfolded protein को break करके degrade कर देता है, right? By ubiquitin proteasome pathway. And misfolded protein can undergo autophagy. Okay, few years back in 2020 or 2021, I guess, some 3 scientists from Japan got Nobel Prize due to this invention of this autophagy mechanism. Okay, so misfolded protein can undergo autophagy in the lysosomal system. Okay, so any of the above 3 mentioned defense mechanism, if impaired, it might cause aging. Dysfunction of the homeostasis of the cell number may be a major factor in aging. Telomere shortening. Okay, telomere shortening, repeated sequence of DNA at the end of chromosome is called telomere, right? Like CAG. So इस type का repeat रहता है at the end of chromosome, and this repeat sequence is called telomere. And after each cell division, this telomere undergoes shortening, right? But we have an enzyme called telomerase, okay, which keeps it in proper length, right? After reaching a critical length, which is called Hayflick length or Hayflick limit, it is also a short note for you, Hayflick limit or Hayflick length. After reaching a critical length, which is called Hayflick limit or Hayflick length, the cell cannot further divide. Okay, you are growing because of your cell division, right? You are growing because of your cell division, but after a certain time, the cell will stop dividing because of it has reached the Hayflick limit or Hayflick length. Okay, and this might be related to aging. Now apoptosis, have you heard the name apoptosis? Apoptosis is programmed cell death. Apoptosis is called programmed cell death. Apoptosis is not detailed there in your syllabus, but just remember apoptosis or programmed cell death is also another mechanism of aging. It is called programmed cell death. After a certain time, a particular type of cell is designed from the very beginning to die. Okay. Each and every cell has got a lifespan, and there is a programming within the cell, and that this cell will die after 5 years, after 10 years, after 20 years. Okay. So each and every cell has got a programmed cell death. Okay. It is called apoptosis. Apoptosis has got a detailed mechanism that you will study in pathology. Okay. The mechanism is also here, but I am not forcing you to remember the mechanism of apoptosis. There are lots of mechanisms, and there are mainly 3 pathways. One is Fas ligand pathway, another is DNA repair pathway, another is mitochondrial pathway. So 3 mechanisms are there for apoptosis. I don't want you to remember the detailed mechanism of apoptosis. Just remember apoptosis is a programmed cell death, and which is the basis of aging, right? There are many proteins involved in apoptosis, like caspases, caspase 3, 7, 8, 9, okay, and also BCL2 BAX. There are transcription factors involved, right? And apoptosis is a zone for MCQs in NADPH. Okay, they will ask you whether this caspase 8, caspase, whether it is pro-apoptotic or anti-apoptotic. Lots of proteins are involved here. Some proteins are pro-apoptotic that cause programmed cell death, and some proteins are anti-apoptotic that prevent apoptosis, right? So which protein is pro-apoptotic and which proteins are anti-apoptotic? It is a very important zone for forming MCQ, and you need to remember those things. Okay, slowing aging. So it is the area of research nowadays, how to prevent aging. Okay, this is the area of research. So aging process can be slowed down by decreasing, number 1, calorie intake. Okay, calorie intake ko restrict karo. Anything in excess is poison. Excess calorie is poison. Okay. So aging process can be slowed down by decreasing calorie intake, which will decrease insulin like growth factor and the mTOR pathway. Hormesis, it is the reduction of stress. Very difficult in our medical curriculum. Stress will be there, right? Okay, but this is one way. And few genetic changes may slow aging as well.